You want to kill him until he gets his headset on? Yeah, okay. Good afternoon. We're live from Chapelle Field at Butch Dewey Park in Kenner. Crescent City Sports is proud to bring you high school softball. Today it's a District 9 5A matchup as Archbishop Chapelle, the Chipmunks, play host to the Cubs of Mount Carmel Academy, and an important district game as it is every year when these teams meet. Oftentimes close and competitive games, and an important game as far as the power rankings go for both of these squads. In Division I Select, looking towards the state playoffs, Chapelle coming in as number 5 in the rankings, followed right behind by Mount Carmel at number 6. It's a 24-team bracket as we look ahead to the postseason. And obviously you want to be in the top 8 to have a first-round bye. And the better the seed, the more likely you're to stay at home along the way to try to win a state championship. Chapelle hosting this one, 13-3 on the year and 2-0 in district play, and 2 dominating victories, 18-0 over Carr and 10-0 over Dominican a week ago. As a matter of fact, the Chipmunks with 4 consecutive wins, all by shutout, and 8 shutout wins on the year. Big reason why is starting pitcher for the Chips today, and Kayla Giardina. We'll be talking a lot about the Southern Miss signee. Meanwhile, Mount Carmel coming in at 10-4 and 1-1 in 9-5A so far. They had an 18-0 victory over Carr and lost to John Curtis a week ago to be sitting at 1-1. These head coaches know each other well, both in their 5th years at their respective programs. Scott O'Brien at Archbishop Chapelle and Curtis Matthews at Mount Carmel. Again, I am Jude Young, and joined by our analyst for this one, who certainly knows his way around the softball fields locally and around the state. He's a state champion in his many years, decades, that at Mount Carmel. Also took Hahnville to a state title game as well. Jerry Nugent, great to have you for this one. And I know you've been down on the field getting a little bit closer to these two teams. You know the coaches well already to get a feel for this matchup.
Oh, yeah. Too familiar with these two coaches. And this is a classic Catholic League matchup with the Chipmunks going up against the Cubs. Kind of like the old days. This is kind of we call them the dog days of March in softball, where, this is where your run for the state championship kind of starts mid to late March.
When you look at these two teams, obviously the Chipmunks, they have as good a pitcher as you can ask for. We talked about the Southern Miss signee. Tell us what makes Kayla Giardina so tough.
Well, obviously she has speed, but I think most people will tell you speed that comes in straight doesn't do much for you when you get to this level. She has a lot of velocity, but she can spin the ball and really place it and move it. The games I've had the pleasure of covering for her, she kept the batter so off balance, going in, out, up, down, along with some impressive velocity.
And on the flip side, Chloe Craig getting the start, and she's bouncing back from an injury. So she's only pitched 8 innings so far this year, but she's had success in big games, including last year against Chapelle, falling in a pitcher's duel 2-1. But it's very important that she's gotten work in the last week in 4 different games in relief. But this is a different animal in a big district game.
Right, and I think that's why you always need to be ready. And I think just talking to Coach Matthews, he went with Chloe today, just knowing that she had some success last year. I think the Cubs feel like they kind of had Chapelle on the ropes and it slipped away from them, which it often does in the Catholic League. But the job she did last year, I think, earned her the right to pitch today.
As far as these teams go offensively, what can we look for today, assuming that runs may be at a premium?
Just talking to both teams, I spoke with Bailey Nelson, senior leader for Mount Carmel outfielder, and then I talked with with Delaney Trosclair, the outstanding senior second baseman. Both of them said the same thing. We need to manufacture runs and play defense the way we've done all year, and we'll be in good shape. So I think runs, like you said, will be at a premium. It's all going to be about who capitalizes when they get those runners on.
Well, you mentioned Bailey Nelson. She's the leadoff hitter for the Cubs. As we look at their lineup, batting coming up in the top of the first, it'll be the center fielder Nelson in the 1 hole, followed by Hayden Traub, the shortstop, batting second. Emery Roussel at third base is batting third. Trey not only starting in the circle, but the cleanup hitter today, followed by Paige Ruther, the designated player at the 5 hole, and then at 6 it'll be Shelby Alfonso, the right fielder. Bottom 3 in the order, Claire Murphy, the left fielder, Charlotte Strassel is the catcher, and Libby Duthu, the first baseman. For the visiting, in this case, Mount Carmel Cubs. And in the field, we know that Giardina, it can be a lockdown pitcher who can take care of a lot of things herself, but it'll be an outfield of Allen, Domingue, and Stein from left to right. And on the infield, it'll be Impastato at first with Trosclair at second. Robon is the shortstop, and DiMaggio at third, Schmidt behind the plate. And the aforementioned Giardina about to start another game. She's been in 15 on the circle so far, and she's gone 84 innings with a 12-1 record. Can't get much better than that, only allowing 38 hits in those 84 innings. 15 runs, only 6 of those earned, 32 walks, and an eye-popping 175 strikeouts, ERA of 0.5. When you're a head coach, you can write in somebody like that in your lineup to handle the duties on the rubber. It must be pretty comforting.
Yeah, that's a nice luxury to have that most coaches don't always have, and certainly she's earned every bit of the recognition that she's gotten for that. I do want to note though that the Chapelle team, they start 4 freshmen if I'm not mistaken, but have a very solid defense. A lot of times when you have that power pitcher who's racking up the strikeouts, people don't really notice the defenses. They don't get that many opportunities. But when they've been called upon, they've made plays, which obviously contributes to that 12-run record for the pitcher. But going back to Kayla Giardina, I mean, again, the way she mixes her pitches, she's very tough to score on. I believe the Cubs are going to have to find ways to put the ball in play and avoid strikeouts, force the defense to try to make those plays. That'll be the key to the game for them.
Well, Nelson, as a leadoff hitter that we'll see in a moment, we'll talk about her and the Cubs and the matchup, but we're pausing for the national anthem. Beautiful day for softball here in Kenner, and of course one of the great sponsors of this broadcast, Visit Kenner. We'll be highlighting them later on, but a fine facility. You mentioned a defense behind Giardina. They've got a really nice field to play on, clearly, and a complex that you have to be impressed by for both softball and baseball.
Yeah, it's amazing. Chapelle's been playing their games here for 3 years now, and each year it's gotten better and better, and you can see with this turf is absolutely beautiful. It plays well. It's kind of a sand-based turf, so it doesn't take a lot of those bad hops that you'll see on the rubber-based turfs. They've done a great job of, and it's all donated or fundraised, didn't come out of any school budget or anything like that. That's very, very impressive. And the girls deserve it. These girls, most of them work year-round at this ball game, and they deserve a great facility to play at. So kudos to Chapelle and the entire Catholic League for what they've done with their facilities over the past few years.
And you mentioned the funding for it, including Larry Gibbs, of course, of Gibbs Construction. They support baseball and softball so heavily locally, and a big reason why this complex also helping Archbishop Chapelle, as we know, but fields around us for East Bank Little League that have been highlighted all the way in the Little League World Series. But we're ready for action here in a big district contest as Bailey Nelson from the left side will lead off for the Cubs. Great to have you with us here on Crescent City Sports as the first pitch is called for a strike. Mount Carmel winning 2 state championships in their history. You brought the first one to that school back in 2008, Coach. Definitely want to highlight that moment in Cubs history.
Yeah, I still get to hang my hat on that one as Giardina gets ahead 0-2. I think that's going to be the cat and mouse. I think for Mount Carmel, the strategy needs to be to try to extend at bats, throw a lot of pitches, and put balls in play. For Giardina, I think it's get ahead early and control the momentum of the at-bats.
Nelson, a senior, has been fantastic this year. She was all-district and all-state last year. She awaits the 0-2 and takes it low. Batting .423 coming into this one, on base percentage over 500 and 11 stolen bases. So she can be a real threat once you get her on base.
Yeah, she's what I like to call that spark plug for the offense. She gets things going.
On the 1-2, the off-speed pitch had her out in front in the first strikeout of the game for Giardina, and we anticipate seeing a bunch of those today.
Yeah, it's just that's a tough pitch to lay off. That rise ball she just threw there, it comes in at your hands or hand level and then just shoots right over them. It's an incredibly hard pitch to throw, but if you can get it moving, it's very hard for hitters to lay off of.
So the first opportunity for Hayden Traub, the shortstop, just a sophomore for the Cubs, but awfully experienced in batting near 400 on the year.
Incredibly talented young lady. I got to watch her.
As she puts it in play behind the bag at second, but fielded well. You talk about that defense, handled by Roban, and an accurate throw to first for out number 2.
Excellent throw by Roban. Played it perfectly, didn't rush it. Took her time, kept her poise. But I think that's along the line of what Mount Carmel needs to do. Continue to make this defense make plays. Sometimes when you have that strikeout pitcher, they don't have as many opportunities to make plays. You want to put as much pressure on the defense as possible.
First pitch is a little low to Emery Roussel, the third baseman, and I want to say I knew I was going to make that mistake. It's Roban. I have Robans in my family with some Cajun background, including a former Chipmunk who graduated from the school, as we have a strike call to make it 1-1. But the defense is so important. If a pitcher trusts her defense, she's going to be able to attack hitters better.
Absolutely. It's a great mindset for a pitcher just to know that the 8 people behind me or the 7 behind me and the 1 in front of me have my back, and again, I think, Kayla's experienced enough to know that, and just in speaking with her, she doesn't care if it's a freshman or a sophomore or junior, she knows that this team's going to go all out for her and this defense is there for her.
Roussel coming in batting at .410, so a stacked top of the order for the Cubs as she fights one off to stay alive at 1-2, and it's got a little pop as well from the left side.
Yeah, two of the top 3 hitters from Mount Carmel, lefties. Which I always thought there was a shortage of those when I was coaching there. I love those lefty hitters, but it's hard to find. But Mount Carmel's blessed to have the 2 of the top 3 hitters, and they put bat on ball very, very well. And they know how to work counts.
Fouling that one off to the left side is this field. How does it normally play? Do we know here at Butch Dewey Park, just from experience, is there any tendencies as we don't see a ton of wind as we look at any flags around the field today?
It appears like it plays pretty straight up from the games I've seen here, over the past 3 years, the high school games. Again, this is my first game covering with this new turf. From what I understand, it plays very, very smooth. I was talking with athletic director Dale LaCour from Chapelle earlier, who's a former Dominican coach, talking about that Catholic League connection. And he was saying that they were really excited about putting that sand-based turf in because, again, the crazy hops that you might see if it's on a more rubber-based field, which is used more in football and soccer, that doesn't really come into play. It plays pretty straight up.
Roussel able to foul off a few pitches here. She waits for another 2-2 with 2 outs in the top of the first, and that one's just off the plate to run the count full. And that's the best you can do, especially when you're down 2 streaks. Just try to stay alive up there and give yourself a chance, and she's done a nice job of it.
Absolutely, and taking this pitcher deep in the count when you're going up against a power pitcher, doing that is invaluable.
And a good piece of hitting there for the first hit of the game, going the other way. And again, we can't say enough what a nice job that Emery Roussel did at the plate for the first hit of the game.
Just shortened up, went with the outside pitch, and was able to get a piece of it. And 8 pitch at bat. That I really believe that's what the Cubs are going to need to do to kind of get the pitch count up. That's going to be the key to success for them.
So Chloe Cray will try to help herself, starting pitcher for this one. She'll play first base in other games, which she's had to do a little bit more in part because of injury to get her bat in the lineup with the runner on first. And the ball is inside on the first pitch she sees from Giardina.
And Roussel has some good foot speed, so it'll be interesting to see. Might be dictated by the count what happens here if Coach Matthews decides to test the catcher out early today.
Chapelle, a program that's been to the state semifinals 3 straight years and hasn't gotten over the hump yet, but a good squad with the mix of youth and experience. And these are the type of games that get you ready for that kind of postseason against a good club like Mount Carmel that has state title aspirations of its own.
Absolutely, and that's the exact thing Coach O'Brien was saying before the game started, that these next 5 games are going to really be their litmus test to see where they're at in order to make a run late into April.
Trosclair does a really good job off of the deflection from the first baseman Impastado's glove to make the play, and Impastado recovering nicely to keep her foot on the bag. So you score that 3-4-3, a rare putout to retire the side. So 1 hit for Mount Carmel and 1 left as we go to the bottom of the first in a scoreless contest, and Cray will have the opportunity to warm up as the Cubs take the field defensively with this lineup to face her. For the Chipmunks, it'll be Allie Domang, the center fielder, batting first, followed by Delaney Trosclair, the second baseman, and Giardina is in the 3-hole. Middle third of the order is Mia Impastado at cleanup, followed by Kelsey Schmidt and Cam DiMaggio. And the bottom 3 would be the designated player, Bailey Hammer, followed by Addie Robon and Taylor Allen. Chapelle 2-0 in district, so with Mount Carmel 1-1, trying to take that added edge here, trying to win the district title. Sometimes we forget about the district title, especially when we've had the expanded postseason and so many rematches there, but it's still awfully important to these programs.
Absolutely, and that's the one thing I always loved about the Catholic League. I know with power rankings and things now, winning district doesn't have the premium that it used to. I can assure you in the Catholic League, it's all about bragging rights. All these kids grew up together. A lot of them went to the same elementary schools. They play on the same travel ball teams. Parents know each other. Kids know each other. And it's a very healthy rivalry amongst all these schools in the league. But don't think for a second that district title doesn't mean a whole lot to these teams.
As Cray warms up, we'll give you a feel for her and on the season. She, again, has only pitched 8 innings so far with 4 walks and 8 strikeouts, but she is an experienced pitcher, has pitched in the last 3 games in relief leading up to this one for Mount Carmel, and a 2-1 loss last year on this field, probably fresh in her mind, trying to be able to get a little bit of payback, again, talking about those rivalries and matchups. What is the plan here for Cray against this Chipmunk lineup?
A little bit different type of a pitcher, but like you said, not lacking on experience at all. The moment won't be too big for her. I think her big thing is keep the Chapelle hitters off balance, mix her pitches, and let that defense do their thing.
Domang batting .467 leading off here for the Chipmunks, and she has put the ball in play and been able to use her speed that way, and on base over 50% of the time, as count 1-0 to her. Table setters obviously looking to put the ball in play and be pesky at the plate and be selective as well.
Yeah, and with Cray, I mean, she's as pesky as they get. She will drive coaches and pitch callers nuts as far as just trying to figure it out. She doesn't swing at a lot of bad pitches. She fights off a lot of pitches when she's behind in the count. Very, very good hitter. Knows how to put the ball in play and uses that speed to her advantage.
One of the seniors on this Chapelle club has a favorable count at 2-0 and takes one upstairs, so 3-0 early to Allie Domang.
Yeah, and this is playing right into Chapelle's hands. If they can get that leadoff runner on in the first with the harder Chapelle's order coming up 2-3-4, it'll be good business for Chapelle.
And Cray with a 4-pitch walk to Domang. A good start for the Chipmunks with a base runner, bringing up the 2-hole hitter, Delaney Trosclair, the second baseman, who's batting .375 this year with 12 runs driven in. And
Trosclair, just a tremendous athlete. She was an all-district basketball player for Chapelle as well, and an amazing softball player. Bellhaven signee, going to go extend her extend her softball career. I would not be surprised if you see Chapelle try to put a little pressure on the bases here.
Right now, Cray not finding the strike zone, so sometimes you want to be a little careful with that as well, don't you, Coach? Make the pitcher prove she can find the plate.
Absolutely, yeah. You want to stick with what got you here, but at the same time, with 6 straight balls, I would be putting the brakes on right here. But certainly, with the speed that Domain has, I'd be tempted. But certainly, I agree with you. Until she establishes some control, I would definitely
And the 2-0 pitch taken and finally finding the plate at the belt. And then you start thinking about that running game and putting pressure defensively speaking if you're Chapelle on the Cubs at this point.
Yeah, and I think, with the combination you have up right here, this is just a good opportunity to you're going to get a good pitch because you're ahead in the count. If you have a runner moving and you get a good pitch and put it in play, and they're going to go with the bunt. And the bunt right back to the pitcher. Cray handles it well and gets the runner by a full step, but a runner in scoring position now is Domingue able to move up to second. And now this is a precarious position for Mount Carmel to be in because you have Giardina, one of the best hitters in the state, up, but right behind her is Mia Impostata, who's a young but very, very accomplished hitter for such a young player, hitting in that cleanup spot for Chapelle. So it's kind of like pick your poison. If you pitch around Kayla here, you're going to have to go up against Impostata with 2 on. So we'll see how Mount Carmel decides to approach it. Giardina leading the Chipmunks in runs driven in with 21, and ahead of that pitch, swinging and missing for a strike, but 3 home runs, tied with Kelsey Schmidt for the team lead there. So obviously power that can hurt you as well. Started her with a nice off-speed pitch, which is good when you have a power hitter up. Sometimes you just need to kind of change it up a little bit. It seems like that's Mount Carmel's approach right now. They're not trying to give her anything with too much velocity on it. Missing high 1-1, and a sign of a pitcher who you can trust to go deep into their repertoire is the ability to pitch backwards and start with off speed to get ahead. Absolutely, and she's proven that throughout her career. I believe that I've watched her do it personally, and we got a little fly ball to straightaway right and handled well by Alfonso. Only had to move a couple steps to squeeze it for the first out. And I can't tell you how big of an out that is for Mount Carmel just to kind of get settled in. You had, you only had 4 batters up in the first inning, didn't make anything happen. You come out with a 4-pitch walk, get the runner over to second. Now you kind of settled in and earned your first out of the inning. So they're in a position now where they can kind of get this third out and they're out of trouble. So Impostado, another left-handed hitter, takes a first pitch strike, and she brings. Well, when you put somebody in the cleanup spot, you have a lot of faith in their ability to come up clutch in situations like this. She's got 2 doubles on the year and a home run, 11 runs driven in. Yeah, and whenever you see a freshman or a sophomore in a cleanup spot in a 5A program, you can rest assured they know what they're doing because these coaches do have other options. So Mia Impostado, actually know her dad from back in the old days. He graduated with my brother from Rummel High School, our father Dominic Impostado. But Mia's been a hard worker for a long time, big on the travel ball circuit. And once again, changing speeds and getting a swing and a miss for the strikeout to get out of trouble. Cray, a nice job. Her first strikeout coming at a big time. So both teams get a base runner in the opening inning, but not able to score as we go to the second. Big district contest here. Mount Carmel and Chapelle scoreless as we take a brief timeout on Crescent City Sports. Am I talking too fast? Today's coverage on Crescent City Sports is brought to you by the Lamarck Motor Company in Kenner. Lamarck Ford, the #1 Ford dealer in Metro New Orleans. Must be a reason. Jude Young and Jerry Nugent with you. Top of the second. Scoreless between Mount Carmel and Archbishop Chapelle. I can't say how big of an inning that was for Cray to come back and shut them down like that after the way the inning started. That was a huge boost, and that's why Coach Matthews went with the experienced pitcher. Sometimes the first inning is the hardest to get settled in, especially if you
aren't finding the zone against the first hitter and have to pitch with base traffic, but she did a nice job there settling in.
Yeah, and you could see on the field both teams during warm-ups were really jacked up for this game. They know what's at stake, and both coaches indicated that they felt like both their teams started warming up almost a little too early. They were a little too anxious, so you can see how those butterflies would come out in the first inning. So it's good to see both teams kind of get settled in, and we're going to have ourselves a real ball game here.
Paige Ruther, just a freshman, but batting in the middle of the order and hitting nearly 400 this year with 4 homers, so she certainly can charge up a softball and takes a 0-2 pitch a little high.
Very impressive power. You do not want to make a mistake here.
Announced her presence with authority in her first game this season, hit 2 home runs against
indeed.
Archbishop Hannum.
Yes, indeed. Very impressive performance in her first outing, and nothing but upside for young number 22 there.
And in foul territory, Impostado able to squeeze it about a step past the line for out number 1.
Yeah, and although both these teams have played in some big games and played a few district games already, when you get to this point where you're really starting to get close to the playoffs, district's starting to shape up, it's interesting to see how these younger players react because, again, there's that added pressure of we all know each other and we want bragging rights for the next 12 months. So, we'll see how these younger players hold up throughout all this.
Several freshmen in the lineup for Mount Carmel and a couple of key sophomores as well, so the future clearly bright. A good team now, and players only get better with time.
Oh, both these teams, and then you look around the district with the other teams, the younger players that are making contributions. I see it being a war week in and week out for the next couple of years in the Catholic League for sure.
Speaking of freshmen, Shelby Alfonso, one of them, and has nearly a 500 on-base percentage, batting over 300 this year, and good speed as well with 7 stolen bases.
Man, I don't know what they're putting in the water in Lakeview, but it wasn't out there when I was there getting all these lefties. I used to struggle to find me a lefty when I was coaching at Mount Carmel.
A coach's dream, but unfortunately for Alfonso, taking a called strike 3. Second strikeout of the game so far for Kayla Giardina, so she's quickly got 2 down in the top of inning number 2 as she faces Claire Murphy.
Yeah, and that's her moniker. She mixes her pitches and she gets ahead, and you in a blink of an eye, a lot of times you have 2 outs before you even know the inning started. That's just what she's done consistently throughout her career. And I know it's the job of those Mount Carmel hitters to kind of slow the pace down and try to tax her a little bit more.
Pitch outside, count 1-1. Last year, Murphy and Hayden Traub had a collision, a scary play in a matchup between these two teams that led both having to be checked at the hospital, one leaving on a stretcher. Unfortunately, nothing more serious from that after the fact. Both players fine, but one of those dangerous balls between the end of the infield and shallow outfield, sometimes with the communication not quite getting there when you're trying to make a play.
Yeah, it was just one of those unfortunate parts of our game that you hate to see, and of course your heart goes in your throat when there's a stretcher. It looks like we have
Looks like catcher's interference would be the call there as she swung and pulled in the hands on a 1-2 pitch and might have gotten a piece of the glove there, so the Cubs get a base runner.
Yeah, it appears so, and hopefully hopefully the catcher's okay. We always think about that, but back to that collision. Yeah, that was very unfortunate, but glad to see both young ladies made it to the other side okay. And let's see if Mount Carmel can try to capitalize on a lucky break there with the catcher's interference.
The other catcher starting in this game, Charlotte Strassel, at the plate with a runner on and 2 outs. And once again, Giardina able to get ahead in the count.
Yeah, and Charlotte Strassel's an amazing young lady, another one of those younger Mount Carmel players. But I had the opportunity to meet her when I spoke at their summer camp. And just an incredibly sweet, intelligent young lady.
Grounding out to second, and Trosclair made the throw over to retire the side. So the catcher's interference with 2 outs, not hurting the Chips as we go to the bottom of inning number 2 in a scoreless contest. And we talk about Chapelle, and you mentioned Dominic Impostado, and we will talk about him a little bit right now as today's coverage on Crescent City Sports is brought to you in part by attorney Dominic Impostado. In his time in public service, Impostado has brought $100 million in improvements to Kenner and Metairie, including an overhaul of this facility right here at Butch Dewey. That's led to the East Bank Little League and Chapelle making great strides in their new homes, along with improvements to Lafreniere Park and an upcoming renovation of Mus Bertolino in Kenner. And we're seeing a real movement, whether it's City of Kenner and Jefferson Parish, understanding the importance of the youth facilities around the area, East Bank and West Bank. And folks like Dominic have done a great job spearheading that cause in recent years.
Yes, it's been a great renaissance in youth sports in the Jefferson Parish area, the Kenner area, and of course Dominic played a big role in that. And like I said, to show how things come full circle, all the different connections. Dominic has a daughter on Chapelle's team. He went to Rummel with my brother. I actually worked with his mother. She was a teacher at Mount Carmel for a period of time. So but yeah, their family's done a lot for the city of Kenner and a lot for youth sports out here.
And so important to point out that it helps us, folks like us, do our jobs better and be able to highlight the facilities and these teams at Crescent City Sports as we try to be your prep sports leader as much as we possibly can all across the area and bring you great contests like this one today out in Kenner. Second inning of work coming up for Chloe Cray, and we'll see if she's locked in here, and we're going to see a continuation of that pitcher's duel we were anticipating in this one.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be that way early on, and honestly, I'd expect nothing less with the experience level that both these pitchers in the circle have today. I think it's going to be hard fought to get runs, but certainly, again, it'll be the team that grinds it out the most and takes advantage or capitalizes on that situation that'll have the upper hand.
So Kelsey Schmidt will step in, the catcher for the Chipmunks from the right side against Cray.
Can't say enough about what a good job Kelsey Schmidt does behind the plate for the Chipmunks as well. When you have that all-state caliber pitcher who has that repertoire of pitches and spins it and has the power and all the different tools that Giardina has, it takes a very special, very tough person to be able to handle a pitcher like that from behind the plate. So, again, just kudos to number 7 for the job she does back there for the Chipmunks.
Another off-speed and a nice pitch inside corner for a strike. And I wanted to ask you that as I hear you say it, now since you've gone for many years, Hall of Fame career coaching at the high school level, now you're coaching 10-year-olds and under, is that right? Now, that's a little different deal. And finding a catcher is one of the hard spots, I'm sure, on a roster as another strike is called.
Yeah, I have a few of my little ones in the stands. They couldn't wait to come watch this matchup today. I'm coaching a 10U travel team, a local travel team, mostly kids from the metro area, and I'm getting the pleasure of coaching my daughter for the first time. So, it's definitely a different strategy. You're kind of building them from the ground up from a fundamental standpoint, but definitely enjoying it. And to your point, we have a tough little catcher out there that we've been working with. She's learning the game and really gives it her all.
I remember those early Little League days and getting my turn behind the plate. You have to be a certain breed to be able to handle that job, even at a young age, and the skill that it takes to be good at it as you get older.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a tough spot. You're definitely the quarterback of the defense, for lack of a better term, as far as you're quarterbacking things out there when you're the catcher.
And sometimes you have to be counselor as well. A lot of different duties.
Oh, yes, definitely. Many, many roles. Not saying that pitchers are unbalanced, but pitchers have their emotional moments sometimes.
Schmidt has been able to hang in there at the plate. She was down in the count, but working it full as she tries to set the table here in the bottom of the second.
Looks like Coach Matthews' strategy is to try to keep Chapelle off balance with a mix of spin balls and change-ups.
The full count pitch from Cray, and out in front of it just a little bit, line foul.
And again, keeping that at bat alive is so critical in this game here. I think from Mount Carmel, I think they want to get a lot of early ground ball outs. For Chapelle, obviously they have the strikeout they can go to, and a lot of pop ups when you have that power pitcher. But for both teams, it's more about getting those 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pitch at bats and trying to wear down the other pitcher, and hopefully that'll lead to a critical mistake that'll get a run across the board for you or a big hit.
And Schmidt able to draw the walk in the end and win the battle. Over at first base with nobody down as Cam DiMaggio will step into the box.
And long at-bats like that, walks like that, that's my favorite battle within the battle right there. I mean, it's a walk. It doesn't necessarily pad her stats very well for a batting average, but that's just a quality at-bat right there that could get Chapelle in a position to make something happen.
Pitch missing upstairs. And speaking of Dominic Impastato, of the starters for Chapelle, DiMaggio along with his daughter, Mia Impastato, and Addie Robon on another one of those travel teams that help get these girls an opportunity to showcase themselves and improve their games for scholarships. Louisiana Voodoo, the name of that one, and you're familiar with that scene and how it's grown over the years.
Yes, I was with Voodoo about going on 24 years ago, and now I'm back with them with my 10U team. They're a Voodoo. They're part of the Voodoo organization as well. Yeah, so I have a lot of old friends who've coached in that organization for a long time. They've done a lot for softball in the area.
Cray missing low, another ball to DiMaggio, and a good hitter's count at 3-0.
And again, this is, Chapelle's in an advantageous position right now. They're ahead in the count, so they don't necessarily have to run here. Speaks to the athlete that number 7 is over there, that she's running for herself. A lot of times coaches are very quick to send that courtesy runner out, but obviously, we have a real good athlete on first base there, and they're going to let her run for herself. 3-1 count here. This is a good pitch for Chapelle to try to capitalize on.
Cray brings it to the plate, and again missing high on a second straight walk. Chipmunks in business here in the bottom of the second.
Yeah, this is a tough spot, and again, another one of those pesky hitters for Chapelle coming up in Hammer. Again, just in the games I've seen her play, she's a tough out and will just go up there and battle. If the pitcher's struggling a little bit with control, this could be trouble.
We're interesting to see if we see the Chipmunks decide to run and move the runners over here with a little small ball at the plate as well, so decisions to be made in the dugout.
I would think a bunt might be in order here.
Not showing bunt and taking another pitch out of the strike zone.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of the small ball, obviously, but also you have to consider the defense that you're going up against, and with a force out at third base, it is a little bit more difficult. You have to get that perfect bunt down, preferably on the right side.
Hammer with 8 hits on the year, including a pair of doubles, gets the bunt down, and Cray fumbles it, throws on, and not in time, and it gets away as well, and Chapelle is on the board with the first run of the game, putting pressure on the defense, paying off for the Chips.
Yeah, and I think that's the strategy for both teams, and it pays off early for Chapelle. Get a couple on, and then put that ball in play and just see what happens. It's a strategy that's used quite often when you have a great pitcher's duel. So now you're going to see first and third. I would think you might see fake bunt steal here and then try to make something happen, or perhaps a squeeze.
Schmidt has scored, and DiMaggio now at third base. Pitch called a strike and a throw down from Strassel behind the plate, and nothing doing with DiMaggio, not too far off the back.
Yeah, and it looks like Mount Carmel was conceding second base there, which isn't a bad strategy at this point. With runs, I still believe are going to be at a premium. Your priority's got to be to keep that runner on third base from crossing the plate. As
Addy Robon takes a second strike, count 0-2.
Yep, and and again for Cray to bounce back again, to come back 0-2 shows the type of experience and grit that she has. To give up 2 walks and then an error, and then you're down 1-0, and to come back and get 0-2. And then follows it up with a strikeout.
As Robon not able to check her swing there, and a big second strikeout of the game for Chloe Cray.
Yes, indeed. And again, that she's going to that off-speed pitch and that kind of high floater that's getting in there, and it's really keeping some of the Chapelle hitters off balance. It's been an impressive pitch for her so far.
Big out number 1 for the Cubs. Still 2 in scoring position for Chapelle. And a first pitch strike taken by Taylor Allen, the left fielder.
Yeah, and I was curious to see if Coach O'Brien was going to try to put another bunt down and see what the Cubs would do. I know it's hard to make that call with a runner on third base. A lot of times you just have to go with your gut where your hitters are. And
showing bunt here, and yes, indeed, it's fouled off behind the screen.
And I like the call there. You're kind of at the bottom of your order. You have runners on, you put more pressure on that defense, see what happens, and worst case scenario, you're getting closer to the top of the order if it doesn't work out for you.
One would think there's certainly a lot of experience. If you're a hitter in that part of the order, you've been working on that quite a bit and seen those opportunities this season, as the 0-2 leads to a foul tip and a swinging strike 3. Second straight strikeout for Cray in a big spot.
Again, you got to tip your hat to the experienced hurler there. I mean, come back with 2 straight strikeouts after the way the inning started. That's twice she got in trouble at the beginning of innings and is really settled in and kind of keeping her team in the game.
Ali Domeng with the opportunity now as we go back to the top of the Chipmunks' order. She drew a walk the first time she saw Cray, I should say, in the first inning, and gets a good swing on it, lifts it to left field down by the line, but ranging over, Murphy able to make the play for the third out. So Cray doing a really nice job after making the error that brought home the first run of this game to get out of further damage through 2 innings from Butch Dewey. It's 1-0 Archbishop Chapelle on Crescent City Sports.
First baseman, number 3, Libby Duthu.
Back for the start of the third inning, and now Kayla Giardina and Archbishop Chapelle working with a 1-0 lead. The Chipmunks able to get a run in without the benefit of a hit yet. The Cubs with the only hit of this game so far as 9-hole hitter Libby Duthu fouls one into the screen.
And I think what's key for Mount Carmel, especially from the offensive approach right now, is you have to realize there's still plenty of game left. You know, you're in the top of the third. You've got plenty of at-bats left. You can't hit the panic button and go up there and start pressing at the plate and try to do too much too soon. Stick with your plan, work counts, try to get some runners on and manufacture a run. Just it comes one at bat, one pitch at a time.
Duthu at first base today also sees a lot of action as a pinch hitter as she again fouls one straight back.
And just going back to that second inning, I mean, obviously a big momentum swing for Chapelle to get on the board, but I think equally as important was the way Mount Carmel ended the inning, because that could have been a disastrous inning. So they have to feel good about the way they kind of buckled in. That's a sign of a mature team there.
Pitch outside, making it 2-2 to Duthu. And certainly if you're Cray, you walk 2, and then you have the throw that gets away at first base and able to settle right back in and get your team out of further trouble.
Yeah, again, and I think that's why Coach Matthews went with the experienced pitcher in this particular game. Although she hasn't thrown a lot of innings this year, as you said, she's had a lot of experience in big games, and in this matchup in particular. So it's paying dividends so far.
Another foul ball, and look alive there. Bailey Nelson in the circle there waiting to come up on deck right now. And some of these tight confines here of softball fields, this is pretty typical, sometimes even smaller than that. You definitely have to look alive no matter where you're sitting, and certainly working out in the field, the umpires and the coaches as well.
Oh, absolutely. You have to keep your head on the swivel. I prided myself on the fact that that I had never gotten hit while in the coach's box. And then my very last game coaching, in my last postseason appearance, I got plunked by my catcher. Just hit a line drive right off my elbow. And
that'll do it.
That was a long ride home from Pineville with ice on my elbow.
Second called strikeout for Giardina in the third of the game as Nelson now steps in. We mentioned she got on base via walk, and she lifts that one to straightaway left field and drifting over Allen, able to squeeze it. So quickly 2 down here for the Cubs in the top of the third.
And kind of the way it's shaping up, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point, especially with some of these lefties and these speedsters that Mount Carmel has, if they start trying to put down some bunts just to try to force the issue a little bit, just to avoid the strikeouts and the pop-ups before Giardina really continues to get into a groove.
Hayden Traub stepping in. She grounded out to short in her first look at Giardina today, and we see the off-speed freezing her for strike one.
Yeah, and Hayden, although she grounded out, the shortstop made a tremendous play. She was right on that ball. She went right up the middle with it, so be interesting to see. It looked like Chapelle started with a little off-speed to kind of change things up on her a little bit, which is a smart move on their part.
Giardina, who we talked about headed to Southern Miss to play, and she's got ability as a hitter and a pitcher. So those are the type of players that programs can get their hands on, as she coaxes a swing and a miss to get ahead 1-2. And you can do so many different things once you get her in fall ball and situations like that to find out what she can do at that level.
Absolutely, yeah. She's definitely a versatile player, can give you multiple dimensions, and that's what a lot of the schools are looking for. You know, you want to get bang for your buck with the scholarships when you can get a pitcher who can also bring some offense to the table. You're seeing that a lot more in college too. The PO, as they used to call it, pitcher only. You're seeing pitchers play defensive positions. They're hitting in the batting orders, and it's a testament to the type of athlete and the type of training that they're doing in travel ball and in high school.
The 1-2, swinging and missing, make it 4 strikeouts for Giardina, and the side retired in order. As we're through 2.5.
Third out of the inning.
In a big District 9-5A matchup, and it's 1-0 Archbishop Chapelle as they come into bat looking to add to their league here on Crescent City Sports. Jude Young and Jerry Nugent with you as we watch Chloe Cray and her teammates get ready for the bottom of the third in the field for Mount Carmel. And Coach, this game going about how you'd expect so far, although Chapelle has gotten some base traffic. Cray hasn't given up a hit yet. Still the Chipmunks with the lead so far.
Yeah, and if I'm Coach Matthews and Chloe Cray right now, my goal is to try to get this first out. That's been the one chink in their armor I've seen so far, is that those leadoff walks have really kind of, luckily for them, only cost them 1 run. But if they can kind of get off to a good start for the inning, I think that'll serve them really well, because she's really settled in as the innings have progressed. Now, that being said, you got the Heart of Chapelle's order coming up, so it's a tall order to get that first out.
2, 3, and 4 up, starting with Delaney Trosclair, who laid down a sacrifice bunt right back to the pitcher in her first trip to the plate. Takes one high, and we've seen that a little bit from Cray. She's missed a bit high at times, particularly early in the count.
Yeah, and I think it's part of its release point, and part of it's the attempt to try to mix the speeds a bit to keep these big Chapelle hitters off balance.
Corkscrew to the right side, and coming off the bag and making the play for the out is Duthu.
And again, like I said, that's a big first out, just to get just to shake the cobwebs off, or whatever you want to call it, just to get that first out. It's always critical in baseball and softball, but I think in this particular game, just because of the way the first and second started for Mount Carmel, getting that first out was key, especially with the big hitters coming up here.
Giardina flew out to right her first time up and takes one inside around the ankles.
It doesn't seem like she's going to see many straight pitches. I think it's going to be a lot of slow spin to try to keep her off balance and then go from there.
And that's challenging when you know you're not going to see great pitches to hit, not a lot of fastballs, to still be selective and show patience up there as she takes a pitch for a strike to make it 1-1.
Yeah. And when you're a big-time player, you want to do so much for your team, and Kayla is one of those kids who just loves her team and wants to do so much just for her team. Yeah, it gets hard when you're being pitched around a little bit to let it go, to just have that discipline. But she's been around long enough. I think she understands that comes with the territory when you're the big hitter in the middle of the order. I find younger hitters struggle with that, but she's doing a nice job of laying off pitches and kind of understanding what teams are trying to do to her.
Trying to pitch her inside and missing to make it 3-1. So when you do see something that might be relatively straight, they're trying to make sure that they either jam you inside or get you to chase something up and away normally.
Absolutely. And my philosophy always was, if you're going to beat me, your best hitter's not going to beat me up there.
Swinging 3-1, pops it up right behind the circle, and coming in to make the play for the second out is Roussel.
And that was really a nice pitch by Chloe there. She got the ball just kind of rose just above her hands there, just to get her under it just enough to get that pop up. And that's confidence to throw that pitch there, because if you miss by an eighth of an inch, it could be in the gap somewhere.
Chance for Cray to have her first comfortable inning here, trying to set down the Chipmunks in order as she throws one just off the plate to Mia Impostado, who struck out back in the first.
Yeah, and again, it's that game now of you get these first 2 outs. Now they can pitch Mia the way they would like to, in terms of they don't have to give her anything too hittable because nobody's on. If you start the inning with base runners, then it changes the whole complexion. It's just that's the beauty of the game. It's the cat and mouse that goes on between coaches when they're calling pitches and hitters. But Mia anticipates pitches very well, so we'll kind of see what she does here. She's having to exercise some of that patience right now, it looks like.
3-0 the count to her. And sure, there's more options for the pitcher when there's less base traffic. It's pretty simple. Once there's runners on base, there's more options for the team at the plate to try to attack you and try to put pressure on you defensively. And in that case, nothing for Impostado to do but take 4 balls and take her base. A base runner for Chapelle with 2 outs.
Yeah, and we'll see if Schmidt can make something happen here with a little 2-out action.
Catcher number 7, Kelsey Schmidt.
So Schmidt, who drew a walk and scored the only run of this game, that happening an inning ago, with a teammate on base.
And back to her athleticism, having your catcher run when you have the option of not doing that kind of shows you why Coach O'Brien left Schmidt on the bases.
And you mentioned we have multi-sport stars on these teams, which happens so much. And as a coach working with other coaches at the school, that can be a bit of a challenge as well when you have these great athletes and you want to get the most out of them, but allow them to enjoy their ability to play different sports at a high level.
Yeah, and there's so much overlap in the sports now because the seasons are so long and you're fitting them conceivably into a school year. It makes it difficult, and there becomes a little bit of rivalry between the coaches sometimes. But I think if you look at it, a lot of your best players are players who play multiple sports. I coached Christy Orgeron and Elena Di Vittorio at Mount Carmel, arguably 2 of the best players to ever go through that school, and both of them were all-state in soccer as well.
Right.
Which meant I had to wait a long time because we were very good in soccer. But it was worth the wait, and I think those experiences that they had in those other sports not only made them better athletes, but made them smarter athletes. So I'm all for it. I always tell people, watch the NFL draft when they announce those first rounders
Yes.
and all the sports that they played in high school. And I understand specialization and all of that, but I think there's a way to balance both if you really put your minds to it. It's just having a coaching staff that, both these schools have that are willing to work together.
So Impostado in scoring position after the wild pitch, and after a 3-0 count, Cray trying to fight back, gets a foul ball to make it 3-2. And if you're the Cubs, you certainly don't want to be down multiple runs in this game to Giardina and company.
No, this is a big at-bat here, and I think what you need to remember with Schmidt here is if you're 3-1, you have an open base. You don't want to throw too fat of a pitch with a runner on second base.
We see the check of the wristband often from Cray for the pitch call, and gives up another walk. Second time Schmidt has walked in this game, and walks have been a bit of an issue for Cray as she has given up 5 of them now in less than 3 innings of work.
Yeah, that's a bit of an issue. Although with that one, I don't think it's necessarily a bad walk. Once she fell behind in that count, you have 2 outs. If you don't like the pitch or you're not comfortable, take your shot at the next hitter.
With the open base, you set up forces and perhaps can help out to the next hitter, who will be Cam DiMaggio, who'll walk their first time up. But first, we have a meeting on the mound. And what's the discussion like here, Coach?
I think Coach Matthews has the same concern you have, that the walk count's been up. I think right now he's telling her kind of just what we're talking about. You have 2 outs. You pitched your way out of jams already. Just relax, focus on the next pitch, and let your defense work for you. And again, having an experienced pitcher will pay dividends here. But that's what I would be telling him right now is just focus on this next hitter. Let's get this out, and we'll get our shots.
And it also helps as far as your defense on the infield. They've been standing around a little bit once that pitch count gets up, right, and multiple walks to give them a chance to lock back in when they head back to their position. So it's a good timeout for everybody involved.
Yeah. It's just like you said, it kind of gets the blood flowing again, just kind of refocuses everybody. It doesn't have to be a real serious conversation when you go out there. It's more about hey guys, we've got this. Just reminding them who they are and what got them there.
So DiMaggio leads the team in stolen bases with 8, has good speed, has driven in a dozen on the year. A big situation for her at the plate as she takes one low for ball one.
Yeah, and again, you know, it'll be interesting to see Chapelle's approach here. I know the previous hitter swung at a 3-0 pitch. I might be taking a few pitches early in the count here to see if I can, you know, work another walk or get that runner to third.
Another miss high, count 2-0. Bailey Hammer on deck for Chapelle.
Yeah,
two quick outs in this inning, and now 2 runners on as the Chipmunks try to keep the pressure on Cray.
Yeah, it's kind of the flip-flop of the first 2 innings from Mount Carmel on defense.
Important strike 1 there for Mount Carmel.
It looks like Mount Carmel's pretty much has a fairly deep setup with their outfield. I think they feel like they might be able to get Impastato on a ground ball of the outfield if they get a good break on the ball.
Foul ball out of play, and look out at the little playground area here for the kids as it landed right around them, but no harm on the foul, I guess you can say in that case.
Yeah, I guess they had their heads on the swivel, so to speak.
The 2-2 and chasing one upstairs. A big strikeout as DiMaggio goes down swinging. As Chapelle will leave 2 on, and through 3 innings complete, a close one as expected. Chapelle holding the 1-0 lead as we take the brief timeout here on Crescent City Sports. Today's coverage on Crescent City Sports is brought to you by Visit Kenner. From the river to the lake, Kenner has it all. Hotels, restaurants, the Treasure Chest Casino, Rivertown's historic district, and the Pontchartrain Convention Center. Go to visitkenner.us for more information. Naturally, we are in beautiful Kenner for this one with a 1-0 lead for the home team, Archbishop Chapelle, as Mount Carmel will try to change that. And Coach, so far, talking about the Cubs, they have done a good job battling at the plate against Giardina, who sometimes can lock down an entire lineup. They just need to get multiple hits together because they're not getting any freebies so far.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the story in the game right now is, you know, she hasn't let up any free runners. And certainly if I'm Coach Matthews, I'm telling my team to try to hit a few more ground balls, you know, try to, again, see if it can find a hole or force the issue on the defense a little bit.
Emery Roussel, the only hit of this game so far, and has a 1-1 count to work with. That one coming back in the first as Chapelle has taken advantage of 5 walks and a timely error to get the lead in this game for Giardina. The 1-1 and a strike at the belt is called. It's 2 very different pitching performances so far, as just the importance of getting ahead being the key for Giardina.
Yeah, and it's just a style thing. I think you know, she's obviously a dominant pitcher, and you want to establish dominance, so you're going to go after the hitters early in the count and challenge them and try to get ahead. And then, you know, with Chloe Cray, she's more of a finesse pitcher, uses her off speed and that high spin pitch, and try to get the Chapelle hitters to chase a little bit. You know, that'll cost you a few more pitches, but.
Looping to center, and the catch made by the center fielder Domang for out number 1.
But I would like to see her, I guess with her misses, be a little more close on her misses. It's okay to miss, but she was missing a little too high in the previous innings, hence the 5 walks. But I think she'll settle in with that as well. She's a good adjustment pitcher.
Cray will try to help herself here at the plate as she had one of those odd deflection-oriented ground outs that hit off of Impastato's glove at first, but backing her up, Trosclair at second, able to throw on in time for the out that ended the top of the first inning for the Cubs.
And that's another testament to these two pitchers, is that they're both hitting in this lineup, and we talked about the pitcher-athlete and whatnot, but to be able to compartmentalize, because there's a lot of pressure on these two young ladies right now pitching in this game. There's a lot at stake. To be able to go up there and take a good approach at the plate when you have all the other things on your mind about who's coming up and what you have to do to be successful in the circle the rest of the game. Kudos to these young ladies for the grit that they're showing doing that.
Look, the personal pressure on top of representing your school and the rivalries between players on each team is cray. Hits one to shallow right, and it drops in front of Stein for a hit. Second base hit of the ball game for the Cubs and the first for Cray.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see a pinch runner here.
And we'll keep an eye out for that as Paige Ruther will have a conversation for a moment. Now we have that decision coming with the umpire.
And this is always the conundrum when you're the coach here. You have such a tough situation because you have a great hitter in Ruther coming up who swings and could change the game with one swing. At the same time, base runners are hard to come by, and you have a strikeout pop-up kind of pitcher. I'd be tempted to try the short game or a little bunt and run or something here just to kind of, again, shake things up. On the other hand, I wouldn't blame them if they didn't because, again, you have a very explosive hitter up here.
Colby Pichon, a junior, is the pinch runner at first, as you predicted, as the first pitch is fouled back by Ruther, who flew out in her first at-bat. Fouled out, actually, to third base.
You've got some speed here with Pichon. She's a legacy student at Mount Carmel that goes way back. The Pichon, there must have been 30 Pichons. All of them had speed. But you might see a little movement on the bases here at some point.
Good swing, reaching out for it and pulling it down the line, and just foul around the 205 sign. A couple feet into foul territory. Reached out and able to get a little power behind it.
And that's exactly why I tell you we shouldn't go with the short game right there. No, I agree with Coach Matthews, though. Like I said, it's tempted to do it right there, but when you have a hitter who's been hot like this up, you got to let them take their shot. And you saw right there, she was a couple of feet away from taking the lead with that one swing.
Has the pop that we talked about earlier with 4 home runs, and that time, in the end, a strikeout victim for Giardina.
Ruther goes down for the second out of the inning.
So it'll be up to Alfonso now. I think she
brings to the plate number 0, Shelby Alfonso.
You coach differently via situations in a game, but if you also have a power hitter up there, you want to give them a chance to change the game with one swing.
Absolutely.
So you can't argue with that thought process.
Not at all. Not at all. I think it was definitely the right call. And you can see here, Alfonso is one of those hybrid hitter, slapper type players who drive coaches crazy. And you can see Chapelle's kind of adjusting their outfield and their infield, their defensive, playing a little bit further in to try to take that short game away from her.
Those left-handed hitters that can slap it from that side of the box with speed, that's exactly what you're looking for. You don't care where you can put it in your lineup because of the pressure they put on the defense.
As somebody who called pitches for a long time, that was always the biggest challenge is when you had those hitters up.
And that one fouled back.
I would take a lineup of the power hitters before I'd take 9 slappers in a row. I was fortunate enough to have a few on my side during my career, though, so I can't complain.
You probably coached as good a players you can think of with any kind of style at any position, having decades of work in it and the type of talent this area produces.
I was very, very fortunate in my career to coach at 2 schools that had an abundance of talent and just great families behind them and the support. It was a great experience.
Including, of course, here Mount Carmel is that short swing and Alfonso able to stay alive.
Yeah, that's where it all started. They gave me my shot, and certainly I'll always be grateful for that. It's a big part of who I am.
And they can't keep you out of the game, or at least family connections in general, right, Coach?
Oh, no. I look around the field on Mount Carmel and Chapelle's team. There's just so many connections.
Called strike 3 as Alfonso took that one on the black on the outside corner, and a couple strikeouts in a row after the base hit allowed by Giardina as she continues to work with the 1-0 lead as we go to the bottom of inning number 4. We talked about it a little earlier, so we'll keep it right here, the importance of power rankings and trying to come up with wins, especially against quality opposition like this, with Chapelle and Mount Carmel at number 5 and number 6 in Division I Select. That bracket will be 24 teams. You want to be in the top 8 to have that first round bye. And again, the higher you are, you want to be able to stay with the comforts of home as well as much as possible on the road to hopefully a state championship.
Absolutely. It's a big factor, and I've been on both sides of that. You definitely, if you have a strong team, you can win on the road, but you certainly would much rather play it at home where you're comfortable, sleep in your own bed, all those kind of things. And that's kind of what's at stake here. The beauty with these two teams is, I think, win or lose, this game's going to benefit both of these teams in the power ranking, because both of these teams are gonna rack up a lot of wins once the season's over with. And I think that's one of the things I enjoyed when I coached with the power rankings, was it did reward you for playing a tough schedule. So, a loss to a quality team actually benefited you more than, say, blowing out a team that you were, just far, talent-wise just superior to. Looks like we have a pitching change.
Yeah, good that we kept it here, because Paige Ruther is warming up for Mount Carmel, 6-2 on the season and 57 innings pitched. 71 strikeouts, 33 walks, and 25 earned runs allowed. Overall, a 3.07 ERA and just a 182 batting average against, as she will take over for Chloe Cray after 3 innings. And you tip your cap to Cray, who's coming with not a lot of innings work this year, coming off of injury and asked to start a big game, and she really battled out there to keep it a 1-run game.
And Chloe did her job. She kept them in the game. She kept it within a run. She got out of some tough jams, gave them some much-needed leadership in the circle, and I like this move here coming in with Ruther, because she's a different type of pitcher. Now, the Chapelle hitters have been through the lineup a couple of times. Now they're going to get a completely different look with a little bit more of a power pitcher.
And Ruther comes right in with a strike, coaching a swing from Bailey Hammer, who put the ball in play via the bunt that led to the error that scored the only run of this game so far. That happening back in the 2nd inning.
And so far, that's the play of the game, so to speak. And you can see right away Ruther's jumping out on top, which is, I think, big for the Cubs right now, starting 0-2, kind of establishing that inning early.
If you're Ruther, you're told coming in, starting against the bottom third of the order, go right at the hitters and try not to turn it over with base traffic, as the 0-2 is popped up on the infield, and calling it right away, but missing the ball is due through the first baseman as it'll drop in.
And that's unfortunate for the Cubs. You had a good start to the inning with an 0-2 count. The ball gets popped up, but hey, it happens to everybody. If you're the Cubs, you just got to rally behind her and say, okay, we've got your back, and just go after the next hitter.
So Hammer putting the ball in play and getting good fortune to get on base a couple of times here, as the Chips have the leadoff runner on.
Yeah, and it looks like base runner's off the base. I don't know what's happening here.
Trying to find out what the call was there. As we see the base
like
run.
Maybe they're calling a foul ball. Did it bounce? Did she not touch it maybe, and it bounced out of play?
It looked like it landed fair, so that was an interesting situation here. Okay.
Be interested to find out what happened there.
A Hammer back at the plate and grounds it to third. Roussel fires over and handled well by Duthru that time for the out.
Well, that's a fortunate, whatever happened, that's a fortunate break for the Cubs to establish that first out of the inning.
So interesting play there. Interesting at bat anyway. And 1 out is the final result for Archbishop Chapelle, as Addie Robon will step up. She struck out against Cray back in the 2nd.
And I'm not sure what transpired. Coach O'Brien looks a little animated there, but not as bad as I've seen him before. So maybe there's something we didn't see.
When we go back and look at the replay, which anybody can do whether they're watching live or later on here in Crescent City Sports, I can only speculate. Was the runner out of the baseline, for example, and running inside the baseline? You never know what the call might be.
Yeah, it could be
rules of the game.
It could be a baseline or an out of the box, or there's all kind of different things that can transpire for sure.
Paige Ruther not messing around, ahead at 0-2.
Yep, second hitter in a row, 0-2. Mixing that changeup and that rise ball in, that's a tough combination. I got to see her pitch earlier this year against Walker High School, and she just dominated that game, mixing her off-speed, low off-speed with that rise ball that she throws. It was a sight to see. So she has that working today, we're in for a great finish to this game.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night for Robon as it brings up Taylor Allen, who also went down swinging back in the second. Sometimes you go into a game and you have a feel how it's going to. You can talk to the coaches. You can look at the numbers and the rivalry and expect something close and low scoring. But so far we've gotten that. It looks like Ruther might have a perfect 1-2-3 inning as it's popped up and squeezed by Roussel. And that will do it for Chapelle as we're through 4 innings and the Chipmunks leading 1-0 here in Kenner in a District 9 5A matchup. And we'll take a brief timeout. Come back for inning number 5 on Crescent City Sports. Today's coverage on Crescent City Sports is brought to you by Archbishop Chapelle High School. Chapelle Camp 2024 is around the corner, and you don't want to miss your opportunity to spend June at Chapelle, voted the 2023 NOLA Family Magazine Best Summer Camp. This camp is open to girls entering 1st through 7th grade for the 2024-2025 school year. To learn more or to register for the 2024 Chapelle Summer Camp, go to archbishopchapelle.org. And we thank the great folks at Chapelle for allowing us to bring this ball game to the folks all over who are interested in local softball in these 2 great programs, as the Chipmunks on their home field have the 1-0 lead, and the Cubs trying to change that here.
Yeah, this is everything it's been touted up to be, just a close, low-scoring game. Hits have been hard to come by.
Claire Murphy up. She reached by catcher's interference in the second and takes a pitch for a strike to fall behind 0-1.
And in typical Kayla Giardina form, she's allowed a couple of hits but has given up nothing back-to-back, which is very hard to do against her.
6 strikeouts, including 2 in each of the last 2 innings, as she coaxes another swinging strike. And she's as advertised. And when you've pitched in so many big games over the years here and you get to be a senior, it becomes old hat. I mean, I guess the pressure that you feel, the butterflies, they must be easier to block out the more you pitch in games like this, as she just misses on the 0-2.
I believe so. I mean, obviously experience pays dividends. I think that they still get those butterflies just because of that competitive drive.
Sure.
What impresses me about Kayla is just how humble she is. She doesn't like the spotlight. She doesn't, crave attention. But being so prodigiously talented, she really handles it well and conducts herself very, very well. Very impressive.
And I think that allows a competitor to continue to get better at her craft as a result. You don't think you've conquered anything yet at a young age. That's always a plus when you have that kind of talent.
Continuing to push.
And she continues to make batters look bad because she's so good, as Claire Murphy trying to get a piece of that one, swings and misses, make it 7 strikeouts now for Giardina. 3 in a row, as a matter of fact, over the last 2 innings.
Yeah, she's really starting to get in that groove, and I know Coach Matthews, that's his strategy from the beginning, was to try to have his hitters try to do something to break up that rhythm, and that's the hard thing when these really talented pitchers get in a rhythm and they just get locked into that quote-unquote zone. It becomes very, very difficult as the innings go on. But, again, if you're Mount Carmel, you just got to try to, I like that there, just try to continue to do things to mix it up, give them different looks, and try to just kind of break up the groove that she's in.
Strassel 0 for 1, grounding out the first time around, and becomes the latest Cub to face an 0-2 count. And I think that's been the key above anything else for a pitcher like Giardina. When they're getting that first pitch strike, it makes everything else a lot easier to attack hitters, as she is pitching up that time to Strassel and able to fight it off.
Yeah, when you get that first strike, and you're a talented pitcher, then you can you control the tempo of the at bat. You can go off the plate, you can go high, you can go low, you can go right down the middle. You can really it keeps the hitter guessing when you start ahead with that 0-1 count.
Impressed by this Mount Carmel lineup. They do have a lot of the hitters in it, short, compact swings who can really battle, and they've done a good job in disadvantageous counts as hitters.
Yeah, and just that's kind of what you need to be shorten up, I should say, foul pitches off, and you really want to try to wear power pitchers down, get their pitch count up, and really just try to, force them to make that one mistake in a game where they'll leave it flat over the plate or it won't spin the way it's supposed to, and maybe you can take advantage of it with a big hit, and hopefully that'll happen with a runner on base. It's the right approach. It's just very easier said than done.
Impastato able to handle the late afternoon sun there in foul territory for the second out, bringing up Libby Duthu, who struck out looking back in the third. As you don't start talking about it necessarily yet, but if you're Mount Carmel, you do know that you're running out of outs here.
Yeah, the pressure begins there to mount a little bit more, and I think as a coaching staff, Coach Matthews and Coach Brown just need to stress that it's still a one-run game. Until in a one-run game, you're in it till the last pitch is thrown.
And a correction, it's Colby Pichon who came in earlier now at the plate, and she fouls one a good swing, but straight back to make it 1-2.
Yeah, and Pichon, like you said, is another one of those speedy kind of players. Nice short swing, fouls a lot of pitches off, likes to extend at bats, likes to put the ball on the ground and really let her feet put some pressure on the defense.
The 1-2, a called strike three, really froze Pichon there, got the inside corner, and another strikeout for Giardina as she continues to roll here in this game with the 1-0 lead as we go to the bottom of the fifth. And the thing that you notice about Giardina is a really good pitcher can work everywhere in the zone, and in softball the ability to work up and down is important, but she's able to work the corners confidently and hit her spots.
Yeah, she's in all the quadrants. She's up, down, in, out, and has command of all those zones, and that again, as impressive as velocity is, being able to put the ball in the locations that you want, that's just a very, very hard thing to combat when you're a hitter and you're facing a pitcher. At this level, even most hitters will face pitchers who, the better pitchers even, they'll go up and down or they'll go in and out, but very rarely do you find one that can do all four consistently. And that's what the Cubs are finding themselves dealing with today. But again, in a one-run game, anything can happen. Just it takes one inning where you get hot. So I think the Cubs' job right now is just to keep Chapelle runners off base, keep the score close, and just wait for your opportunity on offense.
This district's so good in 9-5A as you look at John Curtis sitting number 3 in the power rankings right now, and Dominican at number 14. That's 4 of the top 14 in the state in Division I Select. And we know St. Thomas More won it all last year. They're number 1. They're the team that you think you would be chasing once you get to the postseason. What do we know about these other teams in the top 4? Tioga at 4, St. Joseph's, the Red Stickers always really good at number 2.
I'm very familiar with Coach Wagasback and St. Thomas More. They are legit number 1 right now, I would say. They're definitely the team to beat right now. That being said, all those teams you just mentioned, and including the four in this district, all have legitimate shots at them. They're just one of those teams you need to play that clean game to both Coach Matthews and Coach O'Brien's point. These next 5 games are going to kind of be that litmus test to see what they need to do to prepare for a St. Thomas More or St. Joe's.
Chipmunks lost a 1-run game in the semifinals last year to the eventual champion St. Thomas More, as they now look for insurance with the 1-0 lead. Allie Domang at the plate, who's 0 for 1 with a leadoff walk to start this one for the Chipmunks, and now facing Paige Ruther for the first time.
Yeah. Domang's an incredibly disciplined hitter. Great approach, good foot speed when she gets on the bases. Just again, that spark plug that makes a lot of things happen for the Chipmunks. I know nothing would please them more than to get her on to lead off the inning.
2-0 count to her, and now make it 3-0.
Yeah, and you're in a tight spot here with one of your best runners potentially getting on with a 3-0 count, and then your big hitters coming up in 2, 3, 4, and Delaney Trosclair, Mia Palmazano, and obviously, Kayla Giardina hitting between the two of them.
3-0 pitch is taken for a strike, and You know, we don't get to feel necessarily the energy here at Butch Dewey around us with the different fields, but we see games going on now, at least one to our right, and the energy in the park. But softball has an energy all its own, the vocal dugouts, from start to finish. It's for folks who haven't experienced the softball game in person. We have a lot of people who do watching this broadcast as a swing and a miss makes it 3-2. It's a different sort of feel and a fun experience at every level of the game.
There's just an explosive energy to the game. I think it's the greatest game in the world. Obviously, I'm biased, but certainly just I think the short bases, like you said, the cheering in the dugout, the close confines, the energy that the players bring to it. To me, there's nothing more impressive than a spirited softball player who just loves to play. You see the walk there, but the energy is electric out here right now.
So Domingue able to draw her second walk of the game and 10th on the year, and just what the doctor ordered for the Chipmunks is Delaney Trosclair, who's 0 for 1 with a sacrifice bunt, will step in.
And I'm probably bunting again or doing some kind of a bunt and run here if I'm Chapelle, trying to set the table for my big hitters, especially in a one-run game. You need to get that insurance run if you can get it.
You mentioned Domingue can scoot over at first, and that is a first pitch fouled off to the right side.
Yeah, and again, nice job of kind of coming in. I think they caught Delaney before she could get the bat out. All over. The ball kind of ran in on Delaney before she could get the bat out in front of the black of the plate. When you bunt a ball and she's up in the box where you're supposed to be, but that bat needs to be out in front of the plate. And good pitchers, a lot of times that ball will rot in and the hitter won't have enough time to square around.
Creeping in at the corners again as expected and allowed to swing away and coming up empty on the off speed.
And again, if they can even up this count or get ahead in the count, and I know she's 0-2 right now, you may see a little action on the bases here. I know Coach O'Brien wants that runner on second base desperately right now.
You mentioned earlier Trosclair, who's headed to Belhaven to continue her softball career and able to reach up and foul that one away on the 0-2.
And you can see she's shortened up a little bit with the 2 strikes. She's trying to just put that ball in play and get that runner over, which is the right approach for a hitter in this situation. And that's the hardest thing to teach the younger hitters. And you can tell you have an experienced one up there who's, like you said, it's going to be a little short swing here and just put the ball in play.
And not able to come up with contact on that one and becomes a strikeout victim as the second K of the game for Ruther since she's come in.
Yeah, and that was a big sequence for Paige there. That was a big out. Let's see how they handle Giardina here.
Giardina 0 for 2, hit the ball in the air a couple of times. Flew out to right back in the first and popped out to third in the third inning.
They're going to be careful, but I think they did pitch to her.
Reached up and hit it to straightaway center, and Nelson able to grab it for out number 2. So a sigh of relief clearly for the Cubs there.
Big out there, and I think this is where the changing of the pitchers was a smart move by Coach Matthews. Again, just this is their third time through the lineup, and they're seeing a different look this third time. Good hitters, when they see the same pitcher 3-4 times, eventually they figure it out. So it's nice having those 2 pitchers in your bag of tricks.
Mia Impastato takes a ball outside, and for the most part, although not there, Ruther's been coming with the first pitch fastball to try to get ahead. Very different from Chloe Cray, the starter from Mount Carmel today, and I think Giardina might have known that and thought that would be the best pitch I could see to hit in the entire at-bat and went after it.
Yeah, Cray definitely was kind of starting outside and working her way in type approach today, and obviously with Paige, it's been more work ahead and then work your way out the zone. And both approaches work, and a lot of times coaches will change gears halfway through the game, and that's again all part of the chess match.
The 2-0 upstairs, Impastato with a 3-0 count to work with. And what's your philosophy? I know it depends on the game and the hitter, but 3-0 count, how often would you in the past give the green light? Talking about a cleanup hitter in this case.
I was fortunate enough to have several hitters that I, depending on the game, of course, and what was at stake, but I tended to trust my bigger hitters in situations like this. Now it was kind of explained during pregame and in practices. Look, when I give you the green light, it has to be the one pitch you're looking for.
Right.
But
as Impastato hitting it the other way to third, the throw over is in time. So after the leadoff walk, Paige Ruther able to come up with 3 consecutive outs against the Chipmunks. So through 5 innings, still 1-0, Archbishop Chapelle in this one over Mount Carmel. Tell us a little bit, Jerry, about these two coaches that you know so well, and Scott O'Brien, Curtis Matthews, both in their 5th year with these particular programs. What do we need to know about them as far as their philosophy and their thoughts about building a program, growing a team over the years, especially working with young players, as we see both of these lineups have very young players with many years to play at this level?
Yeah, and what's impressive about both these gentlemen is, and I've known them both a long time, coached against both of them at the same time when I was at Hahnville. Coach O'Brien actually got his start at Mount Carmel through the JV ranks and then became the head coach at De La Salle and then worked his way to the job at Chapelle. Coach Matthews came up kind of the similar way at Mount Carmel with the coaching the younger teams and then worked his way up to the head job. Both of them really have a good understanding of building a program, not just a team. A team can be good on any given year depending on your talent, but a consistent program will make you competitive every year. And that's everything from fundamentals to just, how we wear our uniforms, to how we walk off the bus together, to, and then just building that player experience. Both of these coaches do a lot. I know Chapelle just got back from a trip on Orlando. Coach Matthews just had a family day for his team. They do a lot of those little things that have become staples and traditions of the program that really build that camaraderie, which does lead to consistency on the field.
And you mentioned how you wear the uniform, how you step off the bus, how you represent the school, just as important as working on the fundamentals and situational softball.
Absolutely. It's a mindset.
Well-placed bunt down the third base line, but well handled by DiMaggio with a strong throw over for the out as Bailey Nelson tested her with a really nice bunt, but a better play defensively to get her retired.
Yeah, nice play by DiMaggio, and I really do like the call there, though. Again, if you're Mount Carmel, you don't want to just keep going up there and having the same thing happen. The old Einstein quote, it's the definition of insanity. Go up there and try something different. Drop a bunt. They had the right player up to do it. Well-executed bunt, just a well-executed play.
Hard to deaden a bunt any better on a turf field like that.
Absolutely.
And she really did, but credit to DiMaggio. She couldn't have fielded it cleaner, and a strong, accurate throw right to the first base bag as Hayden Traub now 0 for 2. We'll try to get something going as Mount Carmel down to 5 outs potentially in this ball game as she swings through the 1-0.
And that's the thing we were discussing before about that defense behind Giardina. It gets taken for granted sometimes, not by the pitcher, but by fans sometimes and just outside spectators because the pitcher is so dominant. But right there's a perfect example of she needed her team behind her, and they were there and they had her back.
Giardina struck out 8 in this game, and again, not giving up any free base runners for her. And because she's worked ahead in the count so often, now 1-2 to Traub with Emery Roussel on deck. And swing and a miss and make it another strikeout, number 9 in this game. And we haven't seen a lot of hits in this ball game, and we've seen, particularly with a pitcher like this in Giardina, once she gets settled in early after giving up that first inning hit, she's so tough to deal with.
Yeah, I think we have 2 hits in the game for Mount Carmel, and I think the Mount Carmel pitchers have combined for a no-hitter so far.
Yeah.
I think the walks have been the difference in the game as far, and like you said, just falling behind in counts as opposed to Chapelle, who's been ahead in most counts from the pitching circle.
Foul back, and Roussel now the latest who has one of those hits in the contest. 0-2 with 2 outs.
And Roussel, just a nice compact swing, handles herself in the plate really well, sees the ball very well. Knows she's going to try to extend this at bat.
Cray in the 4-hole, the only other hit of this game. That happening back in the 4th. Roussel's single happening in inning number 1.
Yeah, it's been a very a lot of money would be given for some hits right now, probably. It's been a very rare commodity.
As Giardina will try to strike out at least 2 Cubs for the 4th straight inning and didn't get the call there on the 0-2. Lights taking effect a little bit more here late in the afternoon.
Yeah, I'm thankful for daylight savings time. It is nice to have the lights at this time of day when the sun starts to go down.
It's always a debatable topic, but yeah, I think we would all do with the timing the way it is right now after the change this month. Nice job by Roussel Foul one off the end of the bat to stay alive. Sees another 1-2 and hits it the other way down the line and out of play.
She's putting together a nice at-bat here. Again, this is the approach you have to have against a pitcher like Kayla, who gets ahead a lot. You have to just extend at-bats, foul off pitches. Even if you don't end up on base, it does pay dividends. Hopefully it'll wear the pitcher down a little bit.
Another 1-2, and that is hit the other way. And a diving play to her left by DiMaggio, throwing over and not in time. Third baseman for the Chipmunks making a fine play again, but too fast that time. Roussel has her second hit.
And there you see it. Nelson has a nice offensive approach, and DiMaggio makes a great play and wins that end of the battle. On this one, excuse me, Roussel has a great at-bat, and DiMaggio makes a nice play, and the Cubs won that battle. So we'll see what Mount Carmel does here with a runner on first.
Cray has put it in play twice and has that other Cubs hit. Now 0-1 the count to her.
Yeah. I would think at some point it's tough with 2 outs, but you may have to gamble and try to send the runner here. Pretty decent speed on the bases in Roussel.
Chasing up and away, swinging and missing is Cray. 0-2 to her as Giardina dealing with a rare base runner here with 2 outs.
Right.
Protecting the 1-0 lead. Laying off that time, ball 1.
Yeah, and at this point in the game, like you said, when you're down to your last 4 outs or so, you want to try to put yourself in a position where, at least in your last at bat, you can get the top of the order back up at some point.
Cray fouls it back,
which I'm arguing against my own point. I'm saying steal, and now I'm saying don't steal because you want to get the top of the order back up sooner. But that's the madness of coaching. You put yourself through all those little internal arguments throughout the game.
Swinging and missing. 10 strikeouts today for Kayla Giardina as she strands the runner at first to retire the Cubs in the top of the 6th. The Chipmunks 3 outs away from another district victory, but a chance to add to their advantage as we go to the bottom of the inning. We want to let you know that today's coverage on Crescent City Sports is brought to you by Rhino Shield Mid-South. Tired of painting year after year? Go Rhino. Rhino Shield resists chipping, cracking, flaking, or peeling, and is backed by a 25-year warranty. Get your free estimate. Visit rhinoshieldmidsouth.com, or you can call 833-233-7181.
This is that critical part for Mount Carmel right now where you don't want the wheels to come off the wagon. That last at-bats sometimes looms in the hitter's mind, is looming in their minds, knowing that they only have 3 outs to work with. You still got to remember to come out here and pitch well and play tough defense and keep the game close, keep it within 1. You're still in this game.
And that's the job that Paige Ruther, who's had 2 successful innings of work in relief in this one, is facing. As she'll face off against Kelsey Schmidt, Cam DiMaggio, and Bailey Hammer. And you mentioned how both of these teams benefit from matchups like this and the power rankings and moving forward regardless, because a game like this is going to have a state tournament type of feel to it, and we've seen that here so far. The importance of when you're facing a quality pitcher, an ace type, to battle at the plate and play fundamental baseball when you're up at the plate with the bat in your hands to try to score runs.
Absolutely. And again, this game, win or lose, is going to benefit both of these teams. I can assure you, if they get deep enough in the playoffs, they will play a game just like this at some point.
The 5-hole hitter Kelsey Schmidt, walking twice, scoring the only run of this contest so far, takes a first pitch strike.
Schmidt followed by DiMaggio, followed by Hammer. It sounds like a Major League Baseball lineup.
It really does. Sounds like a Hall of Fame lineup.
No doubt. Schmidt and DiMaggio, those are 2 pro baseball Hall of Famers for sure. And then Hammer's just a...
I assume the Hammer family, if you have children, they got to play ball. There's no doubt.
For sure.
Boy or girl, they're playing ball.
No doubt.
Check swing, foul back, 0-2.
And again, Ruth are doing a nice job of getting ahead. Again, 0-2. She's been coming out and kind of establishing herself early with the batters.
She's done a good job this year in her opportunities and was ready to step in today to keep this a 1-run game. So far, so good, as the 0-2 is low around the ankles.
That's a nice low waist pitch there. She kept it close enough to make the hitter think about it, but wasn't anything that could be really driven if they did get bad on it.
The importance of setup pitches when you're ahead in the count. One of the skills of a pitcher who has command, and that time going up after going down and getting the swinging strikeout.
Changing that eye angle, just like we were talking about with Giardina, just changing that eye angle and going to different parts of the zone. It's a tough thing for a hitter to adjust to.
Ruther's third strikeout in relief as she faces DiMaggio.
Just with the looks of these two rosters, this is gonna be a rivalry for years to come. Both very young rosters, both very talented.
DiMaggio reaching by a walk, 0 for 1 in this one so far. And her work at the hot corner in the last couple of innings has been impressive. And that a tough defensive position, whether coming in or having to dive on a well-hit ball, she's shown her ability to react well and make good plays.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, it was really impressive on both those defensive plays. She knows how to move her feet. She doesn't wait for the ball, even on, whether it was the Bond or that hot shot, her feet were moving as soon as the ball was hit. That's something that's very hard to teach young players, but very good footwork by DiMaggio.
Waits for the 2-0, and now ahead 3-0. And it's a funny thing to say when you first try to explain it to a player. You need to attack the ball with your whole body. You're attacking the ball with your feet as much as your upper body, moving towards it, and trust your instincts, right?
Right, absolutely. And, and it comes with repetition, and it comes with intelligence, and it looks like DiMaggio there is not short on either of those, just understanding that, your feet are an extension, basically start the play on defense, whether it's getting into your ready position or moving to the ball, you have to constantly be in motion on defense.
The freshman who's played both positions on the left side of the infield has seen some time at shortstop, primarily a third baseman, as she fouled that one just past the bag at first.
It's good to be versatile and be able to do multiple things for sure, and I know that's something a lot of those colleges look for. Again, you have a limited number of scholarships and roster spots, so if you can find that player that can give you multiple options, whether it's an infield outfielder or a person who can play all over the infield or a pitcher infielder, there's all kind of, obviously hitting's always a priority, but you make yourself more valuable.
Another bases on balls to DiMaggio, and you watch as well a routine there outside the box, a little cross that she makes when she steps in, and you see those creatures of habit out there. When they have good mechanics, they often have those intricacies as far as what they like to do over and over again.
Yeah, focusing on the mechanism, just getting it started. It's, they're good hitters are creatures of habit. They it starts way before they get into the box for sure. It probably starts about 2 or 3 hitters before they get up the bat in the dugout there.
The DP hammer now up, last time to the plate. Grounding out against Ruther. And now 1-1 the count as she fouls that one.
Pretty good approach there on that pitch. She fouled it straight back, but she was right on it.
I think that's what's been repeatedly impressive in this game for both teams. Just the approach at the plate, considering the situation, the pitcher they're facing, and the ability, particularly down 2 strikes, as another one with the short, compact swing is fouled back. You see a lot of balls fouled straight back. That's a sign of a hitter who's on the pitch.
And it's hard for a hitter. It's a very hard thing to do. It's easy to say, but it's hard to do, to go up there and battle like that. When you go into a game like this, you have to know, hey, we're not getting a lot of hits. We're not getting a lot of runs. And I'm not necessarily going to have immediate success, but I need to just keep grinding. This is literally what I call a grinder's game for hitters.
Nelson, the center fielder, able to drift over to her right to make the squeeze for out number 2.
And again, another impressive pitching at bat for Ruther. Again, mixing her pitches and getting that ball lifted into the outfield and trusting her defense.
So Katie DeLatte will get an at bat here, stepping in. A senior on the Chapelle roster, and before she does, informing the home plate umpire.
Get the old report-in rule, and Coach O'Brien, sending a fresh hitter in. I kind of like that approach as well. Give them a chance to maybe get a spark from the senior here.
DeLatte has 15 runs driven in on the season. That's 3rd on the team. And playing in her 18th game now. Has 47 at-bats to her credit.
That's terrific, terrific young lady, and part of this Chapelle senior class that really was part of the foundation of building this program a few years ago when Coach O'Brien came in.
Batting in the 8 hole in place of Addie Robon. And likely to take that position at shortstop in the next half inning as Chapelle will try to finish off this game as DiMaggio goes and with a great jump has her 9th steal of the year to lead the team and puts herself in scoring position with 2 down.
Very good jump, and I like the call. I had a feeling it was coming by one of these teams at some point. They were going to take a shot on the bases. I like the move. It was the right time for Chapelle to do it. They're up by a run. So it's if they get thrown out, it's not the end of the world. At the same time, now you get a runner in scoring position with a chance for an insurance run. It was definitely a high reward gamble there. She
exploded off the bag too. You can see it. It's that first step that's so key, and good throw down wasn't able to get her.
Yeah, because that's no slouch there behind the plate for sure. It was a very good jump and really good slide.
1-2 count now.
Again, another example of one of them plays where both teams do everything right and somebody just has to come out on the good end of it.
DeLatte pops it up, going behind the screen, off of it. Looked like it deflected off of the screen and not able to make the play as Strassel, the catcher.
Yeah, and Charlotte Strassel is an incredibly impressive young catcher. If you watch her game, very, very mechanically sound. Good command, handles the pitching staff very well. Big future ahead for Charlotte.
And again, just a freshman. So many young players on these two teams as the 1-2 a little high. Just an interesting feel to both of these teams when you look at the lineups. You've got, with Chapelle, 5 very important seniors for them, but young players behind them that are the next wave to keep the winning going, and a lot of young players for the Cubs.
Yeah, we used to call it pass the torch. You're just passing the torch on. We don't. We're never going to be in a rebuild mode as long as everybody keeps, like we said, those little things, those traditions going, and the work ethic and all those things. And again, to your point about Coach O'Brien and Coach Matthews, that's what both these coaches have really done well with these programs.
The 2-2 and swinging and missing.
Big out there from Mount Carmel.
As the pinch hitter is retired via the strikeout. That's 2 in the inning for Ruther and 4 since she's come into the ball game. So stranding the runner in scoring position, who reached by the walk as we go to the top of the 7th. Chapelle looking to record 3 more outs and try to come away with the victory in this one. We want to let you know that today's coverage on Crescent City Sports is brought to you by the Lamarck Motor Company in Kenner. Lamarck Lincoln is the only Lincoln Black Label dealership in the market. It's more than ownership. It's membership. Must be a reason.
Now, this is an interesting situation for Mount Carmel to be in. Usually in this situation as a coach, you want to tell your hitters to take some pitches, try to work some counts and get a runner on base. That being said, the way Giardina's pitched today, she's been attacking the zone early, getting ahead. I'd almost be tempted to tell my hitters to go up there and be looking early to try to make something happen.
Just the 1-0 lead, so one swing of the bat could change the ball game if you're Mount Carmel. But you're facing a pitcher who hasn't given up a free pass in this game, although the Cubs able to scrape together 3 base hits in the contest. And Paige Ruther will be the first to take her crack at the top of the 7th, I should say, against Kayla Giardina. And Ruther so far in this game is 0 for 2.
Opportunity to help herself out here and get the game tied up, or at least get that runner on and put them in a position to tie it.
3 scoreless innings of the relief. She's done a nice job in the circle.
Yep, and a very powerful hitter here. You have to be careful. As good as Chapelle's been pitching, you have to be very careful because this is one of those hitters in Mount Carmel's lineup with one swing, like you said, could tie this game up. And
she goes the other way and hits it well into the gap, and that's going to get down and go all the way to the wall. It should be a stand-up double, although she'll slide in anyway. First extra base hit of the game, and a big time for it for Paige Ruther.
Now you're going to see a courtesy runner here, and I would almost be willing to bet my house that there's going to be a bunt.
Bringing to the plate, number 0, Shelby Alfonso.
So Shelby Alfonso will step in. She's been announced, and we'll see what the move is as far as the runner on the bases. Chance to tie this ball game, and we do have the pinch runner coming in now for Mount Carmel, and it's Callie Baroni, a freshman. I should say Callie Baroni is in, the freshman, a very important runner in this game as she comes out of the dugout for the Cubs.
And now you have a short gamer, well, actually a hybrid hitter. She can hit straight up, she can bunt, she can slap coming up in Alfonso, and then a very, very difficult hitter in Claire Murphy on deck. So this is a tough spot for Chapelle, and that's the biggest hit of the game by far.
Nobody down, and expected to try to put the ball in play here, maybe via the bunt to move the runners over, is Alfonso.
You can see DiMaggio's looking to take it away.
She squares and bunts it foul.
It got in on her just a little bit. She may take another shot at it. See if Coach Matthews tells her to go for it again.
As one of those slappers, as a left-handed hitter, though, always the threat that she'll pull the bat back and try to slap it in play, too.
You can smack it right past the infield when they play up on you.
She bunts it, though, right over to the third. DiMaggio, again, a nice play on one hop to throw on, but job done as Alfonso able to sacrifice the runner over to third base.
Yeah, now you're one good solid piece of contact away from tying this game and going into extra, well, potentially going into extra innings.
So Baroni at third, the runner for Mount Carmel, and we have a timeout called to discuss the situation as Claire Murphy due up for Mount Carmel. So, Coach, what do you do here? The thought of a squeeze certainly comes to mind with one out and only 2 outs left to work with to try to tie the ball game up.
Yeah, and I know it sounds crazy, but if you attempt a squeeze here, I would tell my hitter, I want you to go all the way to second base, because they're either going to try to make a play at home, and if you're out, I want a runner in scoring position. I actually did that in the state championship in the bottom of the 11th. I told my runner, go all the way to up top of the 11th, and go all the way to second base regardless. And I would definitely consider a squeeze right now, though, just with the way Giardina's been pitching. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get multiple big hits in an inning. That said, you have a very good contact hitter in Murphy. Ground ball on the right side will get you there as well.
She swings away and comes up empty against Giardina.
Yeah, and you have another good contact hitter on deck. So in Strassel. So you have 2 shots here theoretically.
This time showing bunch, and it was not a suicide squeeze there as she let it go up and away, making it 1-1. So the wheels turning on both sides here.
Yeah, you had the safety on, which ended up being the right call, because you could tell Chapelle went up in the zone trying to, if there was squeezing, that bunt would have been popped up for sure.
With less than 2 strikes, still a chance to lay down the bunt and laying off again. And a strike is called as we hear some howling from the fans in brown and gold on the right side.
Yeah, the Cubs fans aren't real happy with that call there. That was, I guess, in the questionable part of the high strike zone.
So the bunt, a greater risk here, obviously, with 2 strikes.
Yeah, I think you got to take it off the table now.
And swinging and missing. Big second out. Another K for Giardina, 11 in the game.
Yeah, and you can tell Coach Matthews in the box over there is still a little hot about that called strike.
So Charlotte Strassel with the pressure on, 0 for 2. She's put it in play a couple of times, though. Grounded out to second and fouled out to the first baseman.
Tough young freshman going up against the seasoned senior here. Be an interesting battle, but one that I think Charlotte Strassel and Kayla have been prepared for.
Has good speed. And again, has been able to put the ball in play twice against Giardina as she takes a first pitch strike.
Yeah, and in this situation, approach-wise, you just got to be tracking the zone and just trying to knob the ball and put it in play.
Baroni over at third for the Cubs as that one's fouled off, and Mount Carmel down to a strike.
Yeah, and I think in this situation, you're not going to see anybody. You're not going to see a ball close to the zone for at least the next 2 pitches.
Quick conference for the Chipmunks in the field. 0-2 pitch, just outside.
And that's a
now the green-clad folks having their voices heard.
Yeah, well, when you're wearing that umpire's shirt, you're not going to make anybody happy. I can promise you.
You don't leave with too many friends, but it's a job we appreciate. As that one's hit right back to the mound, Giardina jumps and throws and wins it for Archbishop Chapelle. That will do it. Stranding the runner at third, the senior Giardina making the play herself, a tough one right in the circle, keeping that ball from going over her head.
Yeah, very nice pitcher-athlete play there. Everything it was cracked up to be here in Kenner. I don't think you could have asked for a better and more entertaining game.
Fantastic game, and both teams with a lot to be proud of going at it. But it's Chapelle that improves to 14-3, and now 3-0 in District 9 5A play, as the Chipmunks will eye John Curtis and a chance to win a district title as the schedule continues. And for Chapelle, they fall to 10-5 overall, and now 1-2 in district play. But both of these teams getting the feel of postseason ball in a big district game and putting on a show here on Crescent City Sports at Butch Dewey.
Again, this game benefited both of these teams and will pay dividends for both of them in the playoffs. And I think, if you're Chapelle, you're in the driver's seat now in district and have a chance to do some special things. If you're Mount Carmel, you just got to bear in mind that there's still a lot of season left and that the season is not even close to over. It's a tough one, but you played well and you just gotta bounce back and get the next one under your belt.
Giardina getting her 13th win of the year, and Chloe Cray, although she hasn't pitched a lot of innings this year, winds up going 3 and takes the defeat in this one. But this is a Mount Carmel team that's getting healthier, while it's an Archbishop Chapelle team that has had heartbreak in the playoffs 3 straight years and are eyeing much more this year. Both of these teams on the right track here in the regular season.
Yeah, they're both trending in the right direction, and they'll both be ready when this postseason starts. These two teams are poised.
He's the coach, Jerry Nugent, and I am Jude Young, saying thanks for joining us, and stay with us at Crescent City Sports for the best coverage of Louisiana high school sports throughout the year. I also want to thank our entire Crescent City Sports team for making this happen, and the great people at Archbishop Chapelle and, of course, Mount Carmel Academy. Again, I'm Jude Young saying so long from Kenner, where Archbishop Chapelle wins it 1-0 over Mount Carmel Academy in this presentation of local high school sports on Crescent City Sports.